Hi everyone! As someone who is currently on a Korean language learning journey, I'm always looking for new books around Korean learning, and on my most recent trip to the bookstore, a book caught my eye. It's called Fluent Forever by Gabriel Wyner. It looks like this. What really caught my eye about the book was this line at the bottom: learn any language fast and never forget it. To any language learner, that is an absolute dream. I was just like, I need this right now.
Damn, what is that, bro?
So in today's video, I'm going to give you a quick summary of the 3 key principles that Gabriel Wyner explains in the book. And then I'm going to show you how I completely restructured my Korean studying schedule based on those ideas. So let's get into it. So the book focuses on 3 key principles of language learning. These 3 principles are based around neuroscience and memory. So the book does actually follow a science-based approach to language learning, which is already a really good start. So the first key principle is pronunciation first. So before you even start learning any words or any grammar points, Wyner says you should start by training your ears and your mouth to hearing and producing the exact sounds of whatever language you are learning. So for Korean, that includes the really tricky sounds like the double biop. In my case, I should focus on really perfecting every sound of Hangul before I move on to learning words and grammar. Obviously, I'm not at the very start of my Korean learning journey now, so I dove straight in with grammar and vocab already before really mastering the pronunciation. The second point is to not translate things. So instead of learning Korean to English and then Korean again and translating all Korean words constantly into their English equivalents, Wyner says it is best to connect images to the words instead, or personal experiences. This is so that when, for example, I hear 고양이, I would immediately picture a cat in my brain instead of the English word cat, therefore making you think in Korean much faster. The third point, he says, is he recommends that you use a spaced repetition system. The one that he does recommend in the book is Anki, and the way that these systems work is that right when you're about to forget a word, it will remind you of that word again and force you to recall it. Wyner argues that recalling information in this way is much more effective than just simply reviewing vocabulary and grammar points. The reason for that is when you're just about to forget something and then you remember it, you're much less likely to forget that word again in the future. And honestly, when I was reading through these things, I was cringing so badly because I do pretty much the opposite right now in all of my Korean studying. I rely so much on English translation right now. I constantly am translating things into English in my brain. When I learned Hangul way back in the day, I never actually took the time to sit down and go through each character of Hangul and learn how to pronounce every single character perfectly. I feel like I just got a general gist of things because I was so eager to like move on to the next thing, you know, to actually get into like learning vocabulary and all of that fun stuff, that I just completely neglected actually taking the time to perfect my pronunciation of all of the different characters. And that is a huge regret now because my speaking skills, well, they suck. Also, I very casually review vocab and grammar. I will like grab my trusty, I'm just gonna scratch some, you know, coffee or something off the middle. This trusty notebook has been with me from the start of my Korean learning journey, and I've made like really long vocab lists in this thing. And my way of reviewing was basically to just look at that and, you know, that was it. Because I have been, according to this book, studying Korean completely wrong this whole time, I am going to change that. So So let me walk you through how I'm going to apply the language learning principles of this book to my personal Korean studying routine. I'm going to be incorporating a little bit of everything every week. Before I start studying new words, I will be going through the sounds of Hangul and making sure that I'm pronouncing them correctly. TTMIK actually have a video, I can't remember the exact title of it, but I will link it below. It's basically a video where it says if you can say this sentence in Korean, then you'll have mastered all the sounds of the Korean language. And so I'm going to be going through that video and pronouncing the sentence, saying that sentence. Hello? What am I trying to say? I will be saying that sentence every time I need to study new words, before I study new words. Also, if I do come across a new word, then I will go onto Forvo or Naver Dictionary and I will listen to a native speaker saying this word a few times and I will try and shadow them. I will also be recording myself so that I can see any differences between how I sound and how the Korean native speaker sounds, so that I can try and work out what these mistakes in pronunciation are and try to fix them. Point 2, which is no more translation. This one is going to be really difficult for me. This is going to be a huge change for me actually, because for a lot of my Korean language learning journey I have relied on English translations. I used to rely on English translations in my flashcards, like in my Quizlet flashcards. I used to spend a lot of time going through Korean media and trying to translate Korean media into English. But from now on, I am going to stop doing those things. From now on, I will be just watching and consuming Korean media as it is. And I'm also going to be focusing on comprehensible input, which is basically when you rely purely on context of what's going on in a situation while you are actively listening to that piece of content. So for example, this could be a Korean vlog where somebody is going about their day and they say, for example, ta, and you can see on the screen that there is a car, and so your brain associates that with, oh, that's a car, without actually needing to rely on the English translation car. From this point on, all of my flashcards that I am going to make on Anki will only have images, no English is allowed. So when I learn, for example, let's say sagwa, I would just use an image of an apple, no English word apple actually on the card at all, just the image of the apple and then sagwa. You can also attach an audio to these flashcards. I will also use these to try and learn sentences and memorize sentence structures. For example, I could have a sentence card, again, with the apple, for example, 나는 사과를 먹어요. But again, no English allowed whatsoever, so just context and visuals. The third point is one that I'm actually really excited for, which is the spaced repetition system. All of this time during my Korean language learning journey, when it came to reviewing, I would honestly just look back through the vocabulary list that I'd made and just look at them, I guess, and hope that they would leap off the page and into my brain and I would somehow memorize it.
That is not correct.
From this point on, I am going to be reviewing 20 to 30 cards using Anki a day. I'm going to be mixing in vocab, pronunciation drills, and grammar points. Something I also want to add that is new for me is hanja, or Chinese characters, that a lot of Korean words are based off of. These appear quite frequently in the Korean language, and sometimes they appear on subtitles for shows. They'll just have like the Chinese character. So I think these characters are really useful to learn if you're learning Korean. And I'm going to be adding, again, just visuals and audio to the cards, no English whatsoever. So for what my actual week of Korean studying looks like going forward, I'm going to be focusing on 6 main categories. First is pronunciation practice using Forvo, Naver Dictionary and 이야기. Second is new vocab. I will be learning between 5 to 10 new vocab words per week, all with image and audio flashcards made with Anki. Third is grammar practice, which I will be using my Iwa textbooks and my Talk to Me in Korean sentence building book. For my listening comprehension, I will be using 이야기, TTMIK, Korean podcasts. I really like the Talk to Me in Korean podcast. I also really like the Learn Korean with David podcast. I recommend that one too. Also, I will be watching some K-dramas, no English subtitles allowed, and YouTube. YouTube actually has a lot of good comprehensible input videos. Just Korean vlogs actually work really well. I found these are also really, really useful. For speaking/output skills, I will be doing a lot of shadowing, and I will also be talking in Korean with my husband a lot more, and honestly just speaking out loud to myself a lot more, especially on those days where I'm learning new vocab words. Also, as I mentioned earlier with the TTMIK video, the Mastering Korean Sounds in One video that will also obviously help with my speaking practice. My sixth and final category will be to write, of course, and I will be writing a short journal entry 2 times a week. I'm going to be incorporating these 6 categories twice a week, and then on the weekend have time to review everything. So on weekends I will be reviewing vocabulary, grammar concepts, and any new vocabulary words that I learned that week. Also, I will just take note of how I felt that week went and plan ahead for the next week, you know, what areas I feel like need a little bit extra work. So with all that said, let me show you what a typical Korean studying week is going to look like for me now. So on Monday I have pronunciation practice, new vocab, and listening input. Tuesday I have Iwa grammar and shadowing practice. Wednesday I have sentence mining and short writing. Thursday I have pronunciation review, vocab review, and speaking practice. Fridays I have TTMIK sentence builder. That's the back. That's the front. And I also have writing practice. Saturday will be grammar review and vocab review. And last but certainly not least, on Sundays I will have the weekly review. So that, my friends, is how reading Fluent Forever inspired me to completely remodel my Korean study routine. I'm going to keep testing this method over the next few months, following the schedule that I showed you today, and share my progress right here on my channel. If you're learning Korean too, or if you have also read Fluent Forever, let me know what your language studying plan looks like in the comments below. And if you would like to follow along with my progress, please make sure to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I would absolutely love to have you here. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! 영상 봐주셔서 감사합니다. 재미있게 보셨다면 구독과 좋아요 눌러주세요. 댓글도 많이 달아주세요. 다음에 봐요. 안녕!